Hi everyone, I've got this newest video, and the topic when we get to it is solving multiple angle trig equations. That's what we're going to be working on here. As far as announcements, this video will be posted Tuesday night. You have Wednesday and Thursday to get that done. The video and the bookwork I would like posted together. It is due Thursday at 11:59 p.m. and I want you to please submit both the notes and the bookwork in PowerSchool. Now, I have several of you I've communicated with. Several of you have figured it out. I will, in the assignment, post a step-by-step process. I can't get away with being ignorant of what yours looks like anymore. So I got a little bit of training on what your end looks like, and so I put up a step-by-step process for you to do that. And that will be attached to this assignment when you are when you get to that on PowerSchool. I do have another announcement that the first online test it's going to be taken Friday. The test opens at midnight Friday morning, 12 a.m., and closes at 11:59 p.m. on Friday. So you have a 24-hour time frame to get that taken care of. You will have 1 hour to complete it once you have opened it. You cannot just go back to it and come and pause it and come back. You have 1 hour. You have to complete it in 1 hour. It doesn't restart for you. All right, and you should have seen the video to go through the expectations and sign the pledge and turn that in before you submit this test. If not, do it afterwards, if you can honestly do that. Okay, now to the notes for solving multiple angle trig equations. All right, multiple angles, and instead of just solving this set of it just being t, we have 2t, and it could be 3t, or it could be t divided by 2. It could be all sorts of things. But what you do first is solve the thing, just solve it for 2t first. We have solved trig equations. We're going to do it the same way. So I'm going to undo this part first. I'm going to add the square root of 3 to both sides. And I have 2 times the sine of 2t equals the square root of 3. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I have the sine of 2t equals the square root of 3 over 2. And to undo the sine, I'm solving for 2t. I'm not solving for t yet. I got to solve for 2t first. I'm going to take the inverse sine of both sides, and 2t will equal, the inverse sine and sine just cancel out. And what is the inverse sine of square root of 3 over 2? Well, I'm going to take a good look at that first. Got my unit circle going. Square root of 3 over 2, where that is the sine, that's where the sine is up high here. And I think, it's been a while, but I think this is pi over 2, this is pi over 3. And I think if we go over here, that we would be at 2 pi over 3 here. And 60, 90, 120, yeah, 2 pi over 3. And if we do all the solutions, we'd have pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. And we'd also have 2 pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. So 2t equals pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. Whoops. Okay, forget that little part there. Or 2 pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. Now we're almost done. Let's solve both parts here. 2t equals pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. I keep doing that. I got something in mind here, and I got to get that out of my mind for a second. All right, I could divide by 2. I'm actually going to multiply by 1/2 on both sides. It's a little easier to deal with this fraction here. And then when you multiply that by 1/2, pi over 3. Pi times 1 is pi. 3 times 2 is 6. So that is pi over 6. And then 2 pi over n times 1/2. 2 times 1/2 is 1. And 1 times pi times n is just pi n. So this is one of my solutions. And I didn't give myself enough room. I need to solve the other part. 2t. Oh, let's just do it. Can I just do it right here and get away with it? If I take half of each side here, whoops, that's the wrong one, here. If I take half of that, this part, I'll get t equals, and I think you'll see that that would be 2 pi over 6 plus pi times n. I'm doing it with 2 pi over 3. I just ran out of room, and I'm not being very professional here. Sorry about that. But 2 pi over 6 is pi over 3 plus pi n. So here are the solutions. Okay, I think I've got time to make one more example on this video and not have to go to another video. So I do want to do this example 2, solving 2 times tangent of x over 2 minus 2 equals 0. We're going to solve for x over 2 first and then deal with it from there. So I'm going to add 2, and I got 2 times the tangent of x over 2 equals 2. And then let's get rid of this 2 here, so let's divide by 2, and I got the tangent of x over 2 equals 1. Alright, so I'm going to take the inverse tangent of both sides. And I need to think of that. That's where sine and cosine are the same, which is right here. This would have -1, I think, instead of +1. This is pi over 4. 3 pi over 4 doesn't work. 4 pi over 4. 5 pi over 4, it would be where both of them, it's negative radical 2 over 2 is the sine, and negative radical 2 over 2 is the cosine. Here, radical 2 over 2 is the sine, and radical 2 over 2 is the cosine. So sine and cosine are the same here and here. So I'm looking at x over 2 equals pi over 4, and then all the solutions. So I'm going to write plus 2 pi n, or I've got a little more room this time. I'll write it twice. X over 2 equals 5 pi over 4 plus 2 pi n. And if I'm solving this one, I'm going to multiply this side by 2, and I'm going to multiply this side by 2. So I have x, because the 2's cancel out. I'm just solving for x at this point. And then 2 times pi over 4 plus 2 times 2, which is 4 pi n. And when I simplify that, that's pi over 2. 2/4 is 1/2. Oops, pi over 2. Got to be careful. Plus 4 pi n. The more I try to correct that, I think the worse it looks. But, alright. Got that one simplified, and then the other solution, where I multiply this by 2 and multiply this by 2. And I'm looking at the 2's canceling out to get x, and then 5 times 2 is 10. So 10 pi over 4. And 2 times 2 is 4 times pi times n. And 10/4, if I divide top and bottom by 2, will give me 5 pi over 2 plus 4 pi n. Alright, so you gotta, when you're undoing this part, you gotta do it to the 2 pi n, and I hope you noticed that on that other one too. Okay, bookwork is page 530, and it's numbers 39 through 46. Get everything put on to PowerSchool, and like I said, I'll attach a step-by-step way of getting that done. All right, guys, God bless you. Take care. Hope to see you soon.